Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. Let's set the super chat to live. Hang on just a second, boys and girls, while I get my headsets in. I hope everyone's doing well. Hold on just a second. I will return in a moment. So I hope everyone is. Can you all hear me and see me? Because I'm working on this audio here. Let me see. My lawnmower is smoking. I absolutely believe it, Winning Street. Today is going to be a little bit of an early live stream. I got a lot on my plate this evening, but I did want to come and jump on. What's going on? Dad, my lawnmower is smoking. That's not bueno. That is absolutely not good at all. Uh, that's been that's one of those things that happens in life, right? Uh, my lawnmower is smoking. Hold on, live chat. Hey, just got home from work. Welcome, farmer. Welcome. So, folks, it's been a weird day for everyone. You can see me and hear me. Awesome. So, yeah, hold on a second. Let me set this a little bit lower without crashing or dropping everything on the floor. It's going to be one of those videos where I want to talk about a video that I made a couple of months ago. And that video happened to be based on a business concept when I completed my MBA. It's actually based on some other socioeconomic principles that I delineate there. But it's something I wanted to follow up with because I do think that in this current economic environment, we need to be in that situation. So Professor Michael Porter speaks about a variety of business-related forces that affect both businesses and individuals. And when you apply those to someone's actual real-life situation, you can actually use that to take steps to mitigate your own problematic issues you may be having in the environment. Right now, we're dealing with a lot of things. We're dealing with supply chain. You're dealing with, supply chain, inflation, shortages, and then socioeconomic effects, right? All of these things play into whatever your situation may be. Whether they do it directly or not is a completely different question. So, food, house, jobs, medical, etc. Absolutely winning streak. And this is one of those things that people are not cognizant of. Hey, Joe, what's going on? And farmer, CUCV farmer. Yes, and safety as well. Right. So when you have a socioeconomic situation like we're experiencing now, where we're not quite sure which direction it's going to go in, you have to start making decisions now that will affect you 6 months from now. And this is, Joe, buddy, and this is where we get, with the envelope salmon, it was a good call. Oh, good. So that was a recipe I threw Joe's way. He had the envelope salmon, and he, hey, constitutional carpenter, how are you? And he wanted to do something half decent with it. And so, hold on a second, my iPhone's doing weirdness. Hey, Heroic, what's going on? So when you're, all right, sounds like a good recipe. Yeah, and actually, if you want to do that particular recipe, you can actually you saute the fish a little bit in some oil, a little bit of Italian herbs, and then you add the Alfredo sauce, and then you could add the pasta. Hey, Mimi, how are you? So again, hey, Texas Psychobilly, welcome. So this was a video I actually did way back when. This was, I think I did it back in, hold on a second, let me see when I did the original. And I wanted to come back to it because I thought it was a good time for a refresher on this kind of stuff. Hold on, bear with me just a second. Let's see where I got it. Yeah, it's actually 4 months ago. It's early in the year, and was it? Yeah, that was it. And it was a short video called "Defensive Prepping," and essentially, it's a combination of both mental as well as discipline of oneself. And this was actually a concept that I'd come up with based on the courses I took for my master's degree. So it's important to understand. Tomcats is pulling me today. It's just his turn. It's important to understand that the things we see in the economy right now can have a significant effect on all of us, but not right away, not necessarily right away. There's always that delay. Think of it a lot like you could use the ripple effect or bullwhip, right? That delay is what we try to watch, right? As preppers, we can't prep for everything, right? We don't know if aliens come down from the sky. You may or may not be able to handle that. However, that being said, everything can be a mulligan, depends on how you handle it. Absolutely. Inflation cuts into my drinking. But if you make the right choices now, it will help you later. A dream ticket tonight is 1.1 billion, right? But the feds are going to get, hey, AJ, the feds will get about a third of that. And yeah, what it is, and what's sad, AJ, is very often the people who win it are not prepared to handle that. Hey, Shorty, welcome. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing okay. People who usually win those things tend to not be ready for it. I don't know if that makes sense. They don't know how to handle that. So all of a sudden they have this massive wealth that occurs and they're not sure how exactly to manage it. And so in order to truly be in a defensive prepping mode, you really need to understand how the economics work, how the social impact works. And so again, when I originally came out with that phrase, that was a very specific phrase um, that was based on this economic concept that I had learned. So it's important for everyone to understand whatever you do now, you want to try and look out 4 to 6 months and then decide, well, how do I play now so I don't get hit by that later? We need to really understand how these things come into play. And actually, I'm in the process of writing a book on this very subject. So I'll probably be at the publishers probably in the next couple of months. So that'll be fun if I can knock out the rest of the book very quickly. But understand that when you hear people talk about making economic decisions, you got to make sure they're informed of what they're telling you. And that's why I've been preaching, don't listen to people who say, if you don't click this link, you're going to die. If you don't get this product, you're going to die. Because what that's doing is actually you're reacting to someone else's opinion. Joe, I hope I could become a recluse on my own 100 acres I would buy. Yeah, absolutely. You could definitely be a recluse. So when you're looking, understanding the forces of business, understanding how they will affect the supply chain and all this other stuff, and then understanding how that affects you, these are important things. And my domino effect series is very much along those lines. There'll be other videos coming out on the defensive prepping or defensive preparedness. Like I said, the original came out 4 months ago, and it's something I've touched on, but it's not something I've actually dug into the way I should. And right now is probably a good time. So what we're looking at, hey, what's going on, Rabbit Coyote? I've been missing those live streams. Busy, busy, busy. I'm in the same boat. So my live streams are all over the map. When you make a financial decision, I want you to start thinking, if you make any kind of decision, financial, stockpiling, a new property, a new car, ask yourself not only, can I do it now? Hey, Ark Wildman, but also ask yourself, how will I get through it, or how will I get by with it 6 months from now? How will it bite me later? Because you have to assume the economy is not going to get better. If anything else, is going to stagnate where it is. And that in and of itself has its own problems. So it's really important. I want everyone to think about that. Is what you don't want to do is make a decision now based on anyone, whether it's a YouTuber or an analyst on TV, telling you, oh, hey, now's the time to buy a house. You can't, right? You can buy a house or buy a new house. Used to be militant. Okay, thank you, AJ. I was like, that logo looks real familiar. You could buy the house, and they say, well, you buy it now, and then you refi when the interest rates go down. But when will they go down, right? What bit a lot of people is a lot of folks got into adjustable rate mortgages, and when the interest rates move, your mortgage moves, and it doesn't move a little, it moves a lot. That's not a good place to be. You want to have those fixed interest rates. You want to be able to not get caught in a situation where you're actually going to get hurt. And you want to try to calculate those decisions now to where you may be in 4 to 6 months. So if wow, I'm going to want to take a vacation, just got in from a friend's place, 91 extended cab, 4x4, 300 inline. Thank you, Art. Yeah. See, and so somebody had told me that they had a truck that they want, and I don't know if Rabbit, if it was you or someone else. They had a truck. The truck was paid off. The truck was in good shape. The transmission and engine were being an issue. It was cheaper for him to take a bank loan out for whatever, $7,000, put a new engine and transmission in there. Basically, he took care of the maintenance, or had brakes, tires, the whole 9 yards. Basically got a new vehicle, but for a $10,000 loan, and his monthly payment's $125, as opposed to you go now and buy a brand new, say, whether it's a Silverado 1500. Oh, it's constitutional. Yeah, that was brilliant, man. That constitutional, that was brilliant. I couldn't remember who had said it. That's a big deal. That is a big deal, because right there, I just put a new engine, 10K, but it's not stock. Right. But essentially, you just made a new vehicle out of it. Right now, my pickup truck, which I bought in 2018, 2019, this was pre-Rona, was about 43. And it was nice. It wasn't leather seats or anything, but it had the 4x4, the off-road, because I go off-road for work. That same exact trim model in the 2023 model year is 70 to 80. You do the math. That's nearly double on the price, right? In my mind, financial defensiveness, that makes no sense. It just doesn't. It's a bad idea. So you need to be able to do that. Hold on a second here. Who else do we have in the chat here that I didn't say hi to? I think I said Heroic's been in and out. Heroic's been super busy lately. Hello, Shorty. Hello. I love resto modding. But understanding how those decisions now will affect you later, that's super important, folks. It's super important. And again, this phraseology that I used at the time, defensive preparedness, was very specifically a combination of certain things that I had read from a few professors that I studied. And again, once everything goes out to publication, that'll be fun. But folks, this is why you want to think in these terms. This Jackson Hush. mind. There goes the dogs. Hang on just a second. Can you guys hear me again? I want to make sure I unmuted correctly. So, can you guys hear me all right? Throw him to the stockade. Okay, great. No, it's just one of them. It's the fluffy one. He riles up the corgis. Hey, my mother Spark, welcome. He riles up the corgis, and then he causes a big old scene. So, okay, great. Thank you, Frank. So, again, it's important for folks to understand that that phrase is not something lighthearted. That's something I very specifically threw out there. And so I want folks to understand that there's a methodology behind this, and you can use this methodology. This is something you guys can actually execute by doing your homework. And again, I throw a lot of Easter eggs in a lot of my videos. So when I tell you things like, buy in bulk now so you can eat tomorrow on today's pricing, that's the kind of stuff. For some reason they switched to 134A. Yeah, Joe, that's that's among the myriad of things that the government's changed. See, and there's a wild card. The government changes shit. Regulations, you can't use this refrigerant over that. You have to have this type of light bulb. Today is officially the day you can no longer buy an incandescent light bulb for general house use. They're all LED now. Thankfully, they got rid of the CFLs because those were kind of crappy, and when they broke, you had to like decontaminate your living room. But yeah, understanding the steps you take to maximize your time, your money, your effort, your dollars, your resources, that's one of the most important things you really need to understand. And I want folks to understand that when I say things on my channel, I try not to say them too lighthearted. I do make jokes and I do make fun of situations that happen, but at the end of the day, you want to be sure that you understand what you're getting into. And I need to know how to maximize my sanity. Absolutely. And yeah, it's just, and even that, speaking of that, your sanity, your spiritual well being, you need to account for that in the things you do. Drinking heavily really helps. That's numbing your sanity, is what it is, Joe. But still, you hear the potatoes, they're running around, they're playing some kind of weird game of tag around the kitchen. I just see ears running up and down the house right now because they're so short. I can't see them. I see their ears going around the house. So yeah, they do frown on that at work. I think he made like 10K off of $50. Oven bulbs were the best for puffy puff on rocks. Don't ask. Hey, Royal Linus. So Jaws theme. I should. Yeah, dun, dun, dun. They're doing some kind of hi-ya kung fu dog thing right now. But yeah, folks, it's important that everyone understand where that concept came from, and it's important also to remember you need to be able to think through your problems, and also you're almost forecasting in a sense. You're almost forecasting what's going to happen ahead of time, and that's not always easy. So yeah, like I said, guys, this is one of those things that again, I don't take lightly, and you shouldn't either. So whenever you hear people go out there and they start with the telling you to do things, and they're not fully Not fully informed. Hey, Carbon Q. Did Carbon just sneak in on me here? You know, remember, make your best decisions. Thank you for joining me, Carbon. It's good to see you. Um, Make sure you're making wise decisions. Make sure you're informed. Ask questions. I mean, there's no reason you can't. Actually, it's funny. The class I went to today, if you caught, hey, Jason, my early morning video was I was going to a class and they were in part of the class they were teaching a new safety concept, which was very collaborative, as opposed to the safety guy comes out and says you must do the following. It was more collaborative with the safety guy saying, okay, walk me through what we're all going to do one by one. What's your role? Explain what you're doing with the whole team at the table, and the dynamic completely changes. So instead of just listening to me or anyone else, collaborate, reach out to some of these creators and go, hey, you know what? That was interesting what you said the other day. I think she's either drug counselor, drug counseling. I can't remember. Um, don't hesitate to reach out to other people and trade some notes, collaborate with one another, and try to find out exactly what it is you guys want to talk. Gotta go. Something just happened at work. All right, be safe over there, lady. Um, but so, folks, what I'd hate, have fun at MMS. Um, Make sure you take the time to do your homework. Make sure you take the time to compare notes. And again, you're going to hear stuff from a lot of people, and it's not always good advice. And I've been saying this for the last few weeks, especially after I saw that one knucklehead say, run up your credit cards. That pissed me off because this is not the time to do that. I promise you, whether things go badly or they get worse or they don't get worse, um, hold on just a second here. Yeah, there's some incidents happening around. Hey, J3, what's going on? So where was I? Oh yeah, make sure you just buffered. Huh? That's interesting. Right, the dude, and in a battlefield sense, absolutely. But even in a battlefield sense, if you know you've got a lot against you, you have to set up your defenses right, right? You have to understand the defilade, enfilade, the whole nine yards. So there's a lot each of us can learn if you do some homework as to what steps you should take today to prevent you from having a major problem in some future point. And so over the next few months, I'm going to start going back to that business concepts again. I got to finish up the domino effect series, and then I'm going to go back to this original concept. And I want people to think about that. I want you all to take on that challenge and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to actually not just prep for this week, create a perimeter, call it Firewatch. Yeah, it is Firewatch. Um, Firewatch. Yeah. When you're sitting with a 240 Bravo in a tower that's cold, that's just sucky. There's no fire there. It's just cold ass watch. But anyway, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, the best prep is stop bring poor. I can't see that. Stop being poor. I'm assuming you meant stop being poor. That's not a bad prep either, I guess. Um, but again, maximizing your money, if you can find other things to do, these are important things. Um, just remember uh, to do your homework. Uh, when Hot Springs last weekend. Hey, Black Guns and Gardens, welcome. Uh, Make sure you're thinking, had to buy a fridge online and your very specific measurements, use credit card, drove to bank, paid it off with cash. Right. Now, see, that's how you do it. Even if you can't pay it off all at once, right? You put it on a card. And honestly, credit cards are very useful if you're buying online and you haven't bought from that store before, right? Like if you buy from Amazon, it's pretty established, right? But been there, done that. Or the 249s that like to jam. But you buying from somewhere you haven't bought before. That's a good opportunity to use your card and then circle back around and pay it off, but pay it off quickly, right? Because if you think about it, if you say you have a 20% interest rate, which now is low, probably a lot of people are 30, 20% interest rate on $1,000, that's $1,200 total. But that's over the, you know, that's if you have a fixed rate. What they're doing, they're charging you a percentage every month based on the remaining balance. So the faster you pay it off, the less interest you pay. You'll pay a little bit, but instead of that $1,000 and you just pay a minimum for 10 years or whatever many years it would be, you pay it quickly, pay it in 6 months. Well, then your interest is maybe a couple of $100, not thousands of dollars. If you use a credit card calculator and just put some fictitious number in there and then calculate out how quickly you could, how much interest you'll pay if you pay it off, say in 6 months versus 6 years, it'll blow your mind. It's literally, you're paying more interest. Thing to do is get on a budget. Yeah, absolutely, CUCV, absolutely. Sometimes if you do the numbers, the interest you pay just paying minimums is actually more than the amount you put on the credit card for the purchase in the first place. So you want to get rid of it as quick as you can. And you can't always do that, right? There are going to be occasions where there's an emergency. You absolutely, hey, independent, what's going on? You absolutely have to go and you have to make a decision. You have to do something and make a choice, and you're stuck with it, right? You wind up stuck with whatever the your bill is. Say it's a hospitalization. And to Rabid Coyote's point, he said never pay just the minimum ever. Yeah, don't pay. And actually, Farmer just came up with another one. And oh, Independent Many, congrats on the 1,000, folks. If you haven't, go. I'm not on StreamYard, so I can't cut and paste, but go to Independence page if you can, and sub if you haven't. But make sure if you're stuck paying a larger amount and you can't pay it off quickly, always pay a little bit over what the minimum is. If you're at $10, pay $15. It won't kill you, but it'll push it down. And the other one, Farmer just put up there, don't put credit card debt on your house. So this is a trap people get into. They take out a home equity loan and they do not read the fine print. So say you take out a home equity loan and instead of investing back in your property to make it better, you pay off credit cards, right? Well, if you don't pay off that home equity loan in a timely manner, they can actually take your house. In other words, that home equity loan is tied to the value of your home. Whereas if you, I hate to say it, if you default on a credit card that hits your credit, but 95% of the time they can't come after your house. They can take you to court, they can screw up your credit, sue you, etc. But once you involve any kind of external debt on your home or home equity, your house is fair game. In Texas, we have the homestead rules. So if I go into bankruptcy, something happens and I get bankrupt, as long as I'm paying my taxes and my house payment, they cannot take my house. But if I use my home equity or my home as collateral for a loan for something else and I default on that, the house is fair game, right? And people have done this thinking, oh, I'll just get out of debt quicker, and they don't do the numbers right and they get screwed. And y'all, they'll lose their homes. They will absolutely suffer for that. So it's important for folks to understand, read the fine print, watch how things work, understand how things come together so that you don't get caught in one of these traps, right? It's like the adjustable rate loans, it's like a lot of other things. And I think it's awful that some of these banks are predatory. I will tell you right now, Bank of America, the fact that they're in trouble does not hurt my feelings, nor does it surprise me. Because we had two properties at one point. We were renting one, and we kept running into problems with different renters not paying the rent. So I was stuck with two mortgages. I was trying to sell it, and The bank was like, well, just don't pay it and we'll give you an assistance program. And I was like, that doesn't sound kosher. And I spoke to a financial analyst and they said, no, no, do not do that. Do not do that. And I agreed. I figured that out myself. My wife and I did. So we continued to pay, and ultimately we short sold it, which was better than a foreclosure, infinitely better than a foreclosure, because the bank wrote it down. It hit my credit for a few years, not a big deal, but I got out of the house without a foreclosure because I couldn't keep renters in it. But they were actually telling me to do exactly the opposite of what I should do, with the intent they were telling people to do this on their primary homes, Bank of America, so that they could default on your home, take your home, wait till the market went up, and then sell it back to the public. So I promise you, even if the bank, question the banks, if you run into financial difficulty and the bank's like, oh yeah, just don't pay it, we'll put you on a loan or support, don't. I want to see Wall Street jump like they did in 29. So yeah, I don't know independent. I don't know if, I think Louisiana had some homestead rules, but I don't remember. I don't know per se how the laws vary from one to the other. So I think it's important. Do homework. A realtor would know. So if you have a real estate agent, even if you're not buying or selling, you could do a consult. It may cost you maybe a lunch or something, and go talk to them and say, hey, what are the rules here? Homestead tax credit, Arkansas is what I was thinking. Yeah, and you do get a tax credit if your main house is a homestead. Now, Texas is its own little world, right? So we also have ag exemptions. So if I were to go from a subdivision and buy acreage and I stick like so many goats or maybe some exotic animals or whatever, beehives, I can actually write that off. And then I can write off my home office as the managing office for my ag situation here. And then if you want, you can LLC. So they're all, and we need to understand how these things work. Hey, Estatine, how are you? We need to understand how those things work. So when you go forward, you position yourself at the very least to be in the best situation you can, and you don't turn around and take a hit unexpectedly. And that's unfortunately what I think a lot of people are doing. I think a lot of these investors that I have 110 and want to give me cash on a on it and refi, I'm debating. Make sure you get everything in writing, Texas Psycho Billy. Um, a home equity loan or cash on a refi can have value, but keep in mind they're giving you cash, but do they now hold that equity as your value? Like, do they now have their hands in your home ownership? And I don't know how that plays out. Um, and you know, for instance, I did the calculations, and I just used like a home, $200,000 home. I just pulled an even number, and I said, okay, at if I put 20% down on a $200,000 home, my payment was like, the little calculator said $1,500 a month at 2% interest. When you moved it to 8 or 9, which is what a lot of people are seeing now, your home payment almost doubled. It was almost 3,000. Yeah, Rabid Coyote is absolutely right. Look at the comps in your area right now. Don't get into a loan because, yeah, you could wind up upside down. They own, yeah, and they may, which means they may have a hand in your ownership. Hey, Nunya, seen any snakes today? We have not seen snakes out here. Uh, so, but we always consider what assets are involved in loans. That small loan I got to fix my truck was unsecured. It's not tied to the title. Okay, see, you could do stuff like that, and you want to disassociate important things, right? If they repo one of my cars, oh well, you know, that sucks. It's a problem, but oh well, hypothetically. I want to protect the house. I want to protect where I live or where my family lives, to build bare land to make a homestead. Texas, it depends where, what part of the state. If you're staying in Texas, the property values are going up, but there are a lot of micro markets within Texas because it's so big. So even though Austin is very inflated, now they're having issues. There are other areas that are not as inflated. They're not, what do you call? How would I say it? Their market dynamics are different, right? You move out to say some of these oil field towns in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, not Arizona, Oklahoma. The price went up, right? Because it's busy now. Oil takes a dive, prices are going to go down, right? It's its own little market, and sometimes it has nothing to do with what's happening in Austin or Houston or Dallas. So these are important things to understand is what's the local market. So Texas, what I would do is try to do some homework like, okay, what do you want? You want acreage? You want, I really need to get my wife on because she's done real estate for years before she left the industry. Um, do you want to do industry? I'm sorry, industry. Do you want to do more like a farming type, like an ag, a legit ag? You want to do a ranch? You want to do a ranchette? You want to do a homestead? And then find where those properties are and if that area is viable, right? Because you move to Austin, you can find beautiful property, but your cost of living and your mortgage is going to be insane, and it'll be very competitive to get the land, right? Whereas if you go out past Lubbock, say up to Snyder, somewhere there, out in the country, not as high demand, and it's beautiful country. So understanding how those markets play, prices haven't come down yet to balance the higher rates. We'd have to triple a rate. We'd ever come down before we die. See, and that's the point. You don't know. And that's why you want to take almost an economic mindset. You want to back up a bit and go, okay, uh, I gave 20K for my 5 acres next to a lake in the Ozarks. Mines want me to get out of the city. The last appraisal was just under 500K now. Love the equity I have. Oh, wow. Way away from everything, 45 minutes to any store. Okay, well, there are a few places you can go. I'm trying to think where you could go down to like Marfa. That's like in the middle of nowhere, like literally at the tail end of the Rockies. The Marfa, Ira Ann is pretty, but that's very dry, and you're going to have an issue finding water. Uh, God, I'd have to do some homework. Shoot me an email if you want, and my wife and I'll do a little bit of homework and see. Uh, Sorry, I had somebody texting. It's only worth what somebody will give you. Yeah, right. And Nunya, that's the other thing. If you're trying to sell right now, it's a hard time finding buyers. And every market's weird. So Austin and Houston and Dallas are acting completely differently. And it's all in the same damn state with the same tax code. So it's really hard to put your finger. You have to really do your homework. And then I would recommend if you find like 2 or 3 areas, wherever you are, whether it's Texas, Arkansas, wherever, that you are interested in, talk to a local realtor. It shouldn't cost you anything, and ask them, hey, while I got you, can you do some homework and find me, I don't know, homesteads between 3 and 10 acres in this price range, or at least 3 and 10 acres in this area, and that area, and let them do the work for you. And you may look at the pricing and go, oh, this is insane, but you might find a golden nugget, right? You might find that diamond in the rough, but you got to do the homework, and the realtors are set up to know where to find everything. Sorry, folks. Busy work day today. But liking the new well. Good to see. Hey, Nanya, what's going on? Round Rock property. Yeah, Round Rock is silly. Round Rock, we got land for sale. See, so Nunya, see, you guys can even email each other and talk. But make sure you do your homework, and whether it's property or you're buying a jackery or you're saving up for that deer rifle for the season, whatever the case may um, be smart, because I'll tell you right now, you can be the best prepper in the world, and if you make really bad mistakes in the next 6 months financially, you're going to hurt yourself, and it's going to be bad. You're probably going to crater your finances, and once that happens, then the vultures come, and that's not what you want. You guys want to be in a place where you can take those hits, right? And not everyone's in the same boat. It's easy to say have some cash on hand. Not everyone can do that. Pay down your credit. That's a great idea. Not everyone can do it. When I grew up, that was just not an option. We were broke as shit most of the time. So I've been there, and you just try to make the best decision. But the more you understand how these pieces work, how they work and fit together, gives you the tools to position yourself so you don't get pinched in a trap. I'm dead serious. Understanding, wow, if I take out, say, the home equity loan to pay off this, now I have to pay off, or take the loan, but now my equity is gone. So if I sell that house, can I get that equity back? You kind of see what I'm saying, RP? And management, 25% off. Bought 15 acres at 10 grand an acre in 2010. Used to have a World War II ammo factory on it. Oh, that's cool. Did it have a bunker? Y'all, I would love, so there's a house went for sale in Houston that was owned by an Air Force colonel in the 50s. And the company that made the original Astrodome made a dome-shaped bomb bunker under the house. And it is the coolest freaking thing. And the house was on sale. And I'm like, but now it's near the refineries. And I was like, I don't know about that, because that's like the first thing they're going to nuke is the fucking refineries. And I'm going to be living near it. And so, yeah, you're in your bunker and you can never get out because everything's radioactive. So, yeah, wasn't so sold, but it was so freaking cool. You make a hell of a man cave in that thing. But folks, make those decisions. Do that homework now. And don't just listen. Like I said, don't just listen to me. Don't just listen to anybody. Listen to a few people. Try to put some info together. Collect some data, and then make the best decision you can. And ask people. I'll bet you right now, if you emailed like Hudson Valley Prepping or My Mother's Spark, any of the creators in here, and you're like, hey, what do you think of this? You may not agree with the opinion you get back, but it doesn't hurt to throw it out there and see if somebody gives you an idea. You might get a great idea from someone. You know what I mean? So Mississippi probably is too high for what I suppose is cheaper than some. So yeah. So yeah, just be sure you take the time to do those things, do that homework, be smart in how you handle these things. And again, remember, if you screw that up, there's a lot of moving parts when you're trying to be a prepper: inventory, your home, your finances, your health. Make sure you don't hurt yourself making a decision in a rush. I've been talking about this for months now. Don't do it, because we're going to have a rough ride. I can tell you right now, energy is probably going to go up. Not guaranteed, but it'll probably go up. And if it does, remember the last time we had 120 barrel oil, gasoline, diesel, everything went up, and it just went down the dominoes into the grocery prices, into availability. But Canadian Prepper said, a lot of y'all don't like that guy. Yeah, it's just one of those things. So, folks, I just wanted to leave that. I meant to follow up. And the reason I'm remembering it actually is I have to pay my tuition for my graduate class. And I was like, I'm taking risk management as my first class for my Master of Science. I already have an MBA. I'm doing a second master's. And I was going to do a PhD, but they don't have a good program near me. And I was like, I have to register for risk management and financial risk. Oh, yeah, that's right. I never did a follow-up to my original defensive prepping video. So, yeah, understand how these things work. Don't panic, react. And there's a difference. If you're reacting, you're thinking through what you're doing, and then you're taking an action. So Folks, I wanted to leave you guys with that while I was thinking of grad school, which starts in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And they're going to squish my class into an 8-week session. So that should be interesting. And then I'm going to go to a corporate leadership class because they want to promote me at some point again. And I need to take that class. So I'm going to be taking these 2 classes like one on top of the other, which I'm glad I don't have kids right now, y'all, because that would be insane. But yeah, look, you guys, engineering after electronics, but I'm too old. Actually, you could take certificate courses, psychobilly, in a lot of colleges and universities, and it would give you a recognized certification. And we're talking like 4 classes, 4 or 5, as opposed to like 100 credits for undergrad or something like that, or however many it is for electrical. I remember undergrad for aerospace was 122. So there's a shit ton of courses, a lot of credit hours, and a lot of drunken nights in the lab trying to figure out why my little airplanes were like catching fire and whatnot. But wait, hold on. Somebody just said, irrational urgency, buy my stuff, my quality Chinese shovel before we all die. Right. Also, astatine, great one. Be careful of tax breaks. Make sure they're legit. A lot of people did that. Oh, I can get a forbearance or whatever it was during COVID on my mortgage. And they were trying to push it back. And what they did, they took the mortgage payment and put it on the back end of your mortgage, but you still had to make that payment when they pulled the plug on it. And there was a little catch in there. And then interest got thrown in there, which they didn't mention on the front end. So you got to read that fine print. But folks, remember, what you want to do is plan out now, set up your situation so that if something goes sideways, you're prepared financially, food-wise, personally, spiritually, health-wise, etc. Be smart in what you do, take your time, and collaborate. Shoot, you have a question, shoot me an email. What did Joe do? For risk managed, spray the liquor cabinet with Joe repellent. Or give Joe the sacrificial tequila and send him on his way, and Joe will be distracted. But I get a bit frisky. That's an image I didn't need, Joe. Good Lord. Right, and Texas Psychobilly, people who lost money with renters, the big corporations scooped them up. And now we're seeing, for the first time in many, many years, a lot of houses that normally, hey, True American Loretta, Pilgrim Prepper, welcome, welcome. A lot of people who, what was I saying? A lot of people who used to own rentals and sold them, the corporations have them now. And I'm hearing some of them are going to keep those properties. Whether they're going to put them on as rentals or they're going to sell them to another company, I don't know. But folks, this is the kind of environment we could get into. Make those decisions now so that you don't get hurt later. But in any case, guys, I'm going to cut you loose on this one. I got a few more calls to make before 5 o'clock hits out here in Texas. But until next time, God bless, Godspeed. Be smart, be careful, and be measured in how you do things. And until next time, guys, do your homework. Take care.